Hello students, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. In today's video, we are going to discuss about a recent hurricane that was in news which has struck the Florida region of USA. The hurricane was called as Milton. So we'll try to understand that what is unique or unusual about this particular hurricane and what are hurricanes in general. Everything basically you should know about hurricanes or cyclones as they are called in the Indian Ocean, specifically that is related to the UPSC syllabus. So first of all, to give you the brief background of this particular topic, recently a hurricane by the name of Milton had made landfall near the city of Siesta Key in the Florida. Now the term landfall here refers to that place where the cyclone or hurricane strike first coming from the ocean. As we know that all of the hurricanes and cyclones develop over the sea surface. And due to this, it has triggered a very intense or heavy amount of rainfall which has led to floodings, tornadoes, that is a strong rotating wind coming from the cloud, base of the cloud, a storm surge where you have the large volume of seawater being pushed toward the coastal areas and also strong winds in this particular region. Not only that, it also has dropped more than 45.7 centimeters of rainfall in the St. Petersburg region, which is a city situated on the Florida's Gulf Coast. Gulf Coast here refers to Gulf of Mexico, and it represents a more than 1 in 1,000 year rainfall event for the region. That is why we are calling it one of the most unusual weather phenomena that has been recorded. The hurricane then weakened and moved off over to the North Atlantic Ocean. So if you look at first of all the hurricanes or cyclones, where do we originate? So as we know that cyclones or hurricanes can only originate if the sea surface temperature is greater than or equal to 26 to 27 degrees Celsius. That is why the most conducive place for their formation is the tropical region, and most of the cyclones and hurricanes restrict themselves within 30 degrees south to 30 degrees north of latitude. That is why, as you can see, it is in the Pacific Ocean where it is known by the name of typhoon. Along the coast of Japan and China, they are called as tropical cyclones in the Indian Oceans, and hurricanes in the North Atlantic spatially along the coastline of North America. So this hurricane that we are talking about has developed somewhere around this region, that is in the North Atlantic. Now if you look at the unusual phenomena that is associated or unusual events associated with this particular hurricane. So first of all, if you understand the track of the hurricane, the track refers to the path along which a hurricane or any weather system moves. So it basically is coming or moving in the westward direction, and it has struck the western coast of the Florida, that is extending toward the Gulf of Mexico here. So Milton, first of all, unusual thing is that within a very short span of time, it has increased its intensity from category 1 storm, which generally refers to a storm having velocity between 119 to 1.3 kilometers per hour, to category 5 storm, which have a tremendous wind speed of 252 kilometers or higher, and that has happened not over a long period of time but within a very short span of 12 hours. So this is something that is very unusual phenomena. Not only that, the cyclone and hurricane was able to maintain a whooping speed of 285 kilometers per hour. Now this is a very strong hurricane. If we talk about India, when we categorize a tropical cyclone, anything that is greater than 230 kilometers per hour is categorized as a super cyclone, and super cyclone is something that is once or twice in a decade phenomena, and it is very rare. So the Milton can be considered as a kind of super cyclone that has struck the coastline of US. Third point to talk about is the intensification is two types. First of all, the rapid intensification, that is when the maximum sustained winds spike by around 56 km per hour. Now one thing you have to understand is the sustained winds. So generally the convention is that the wind speed is taken on average for 3 minutes duration. Similarly, the next is you have extreme rapid intensification, that refers to such weather system where the wind speed increases by 93 kilometers per hour. So if you talk about this particular hurricane itself, as you can see, it was category 1 storm, that means the maximum velocity was 153, and then it had reached a velocity of 285. So it is almost, we can say, is an increase of 130 kilometers per hour. So that means it was extreme rapid intensification that has happened in the hurricane Milton. So if you look at the scale which USA uses to categorize different types of hurricane, the scale is called as Saffir-Simpson hurricane wind scale, and on this scale we have 5 categories of hurricanes that is classified. For example, the category 1 hurricane refer to such hurricane which causes minimal damage and wind speed ranges between 119 to 153. Then we have category 2 where wind speed increases from 154 to 177. It is associated with moderate damage. We have then category 3 hurricane where wind speed is between 178 to 200 and basically 9 kilometers per hour. It causes extensive damage. Category 4 where wind speed is between 209 to 251 kilometers per hour. And then you have category 5, that is the most destructive hurricane, which is associated with catastrophic damage, where you have the destruction of the building, you have the upper part of your roof of the houses can be basically destroyed, and this is something where the wind speed increases to more than 252 kilometers per hour. So as per this Saffir-Simpson scale, obviously the current hurricane was of category 5. The convention that is used in India to classify tropical cyclone is slightly different. And as per Indian Meteorological Department, it is categorized into total 6 different kind of storm, with the most severe one being the super cyclonic storm, as we have discussed, where wind speed is more than 222 kilometers per hour, calculated for a 3 minutes average. And then you have very severe and basically with lesser extent of damage. So, 2 different systems are used in 2 different countries, but overall destruction of the hurricane and cyclone, the mechanism of hurricane and cyclone remains same. Now, the reason behind such unusual phenomena, if we try to decipher, it is believed to be the remarkably high sea surface temperature that has been observed in the western Gulf of Mexico. As we know, the major condition for the formation of tropical cyclone or hurricane is a sea surface temperature higher than 26 degrees Celsius. However, if we talk about this particular category 5 hurricane Milton, at that time when it became category 5 storm, the sea surface temperature was 31 degrees Celsius. That means almost 5 degrees Celsius higher than the requirement. So obviously that will make it much more destructive and catastrophic. Second, if you try to understand this in more detail, hotter water evaporates more readily, and that is what we mean by the higher sea surface temperature, and stronger the rise of warm moist air, more evaporation is happening, more condensation is happening, the dense clouds are forming, and also that drives basically the entire cyclone. So the evaporation of the water or the water vapor that is present in the atmosphere can be considered as a heat engine of the cyclone. Higher the amount of water vapor, stronger is the cyclone. Now, we do not have a clear cut, we can say, relation, but most of scientists across the world believes that climate change has to be responsible for this, because the Gulf of Mexico's unprecedented temperature, which we did not see in the past, is largely a result of climate change and global warming. And global mean sea surface temperature due to global warming has gone up by 0.9 degrees Celsius since 1850 and around 0.6 degrees Celsius over the last 4 decades. So, this unusual temperature rise of the oceans are contributed by the global warming, that is due to the increase in the greenhouse gases concentration. The other reason behind unusual phenomena is the high humidity that is in the atmosphere. Obviously, as you discussed, higher the surface temperature, higher is the amount of water vapor in the atmosphere. And also there is a direct link that we have been able to decipher, that for every degree Celsius rise in the temperature that we observe, atmosphere can hold 7% more moisture, and that is why the higher the global atmospheric temperature, higher is the amount of moisture, stronger and more frequent will be the cyclones and hurricanes. And the last is the lack of wind shear. Wind shear in simple terms is defined as any change that is happening in the wind speed or wind direction. So, if wind shear is very strong, it can cause the destruction of the cyclones or hurricanes, and it can cause them to die out very fast. But in this particular case, the wind shear was lacking. That is why hurricane was able to maintain itself in a very strong manner. It was able to sustain itself for a long duration of time, and that is why it has become from category 1 to category 5 in very short span of time. So, these are the 5 regions we can highlight in this case. Now, the question is that such kind of phenomena that we are observing, is it surprising? The answer is actually no. The scientists across the world expect such phenomena to happen and also increase in frequencies, and in recent years we also have seen the rapid intensification of storms, and it has become much and more common. For instance, before Hurricane Otis, Hurricane Idalia in 2023 and Hurricane Ian in 2022, all these hurricanes that have struck the same regions of the North Atlantic are some of the other examples where rapid intensification has been observed. And scientists believe that such kind of a spike in rapid intensification is a consequence of rising global temperature, which we do not have any way to control, at least as of now, or even whatever efforts we are making. It is not enough to control the global atmospheric temperature rise to less than 1.5 degrees Celsius, at least by the end of century. Now, as the planet gets warmer, hurricanes' rapid intensification just before landfall is likely to become increasingly frequent and severe. And not only US or North Atlantic, but this is something that we are observing around the Arabian Sea and Bay of Bengal also, where the intensity and frequency of cyclones across or around India has increased, at least in recent times. Thus, what we can say in conclusion, that given the development or rapid pace of development that is happening, where more and more greenhouse gases are being emitted, the situation is expected to only get worse, you can say. An assessment by several of the world's leading climate scientists, which has been published in a noted journal called as the Bioscience Journal, they have stated that we are stepping into a critical and unpredictable phase of the climate change. We will see much more extreme weather in the coming years. And other example of this is the heat waves in the Antarctic, which seems very contrasting but has become a reality of today, and that largely we can attribute it to the climate change or anthropogenic emissions. That is all for this particular video. Thank you very much.